Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rising Stories Podcast. I'm Corrine Sandifer, your host. I'm a business and life coach working to bring clarity and balance for the business owner. Each week, I'll feature a woman who has a story to tell about her business and about her everyday life. Many will tell stories of their successes and maybe even their failures. No matter who we are, our stories can truly make a difference in someone else's life. On Rising Stories, you'll hear advice on topics like marketing, business startup, being productive, and on personal development. And let's face it, when two women get together for a conversation, you will hear so much more. I always ask my guests about their favorite things and maybe even a restaurant recommendation or two. We might also throw in a recipe. So make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any episodes. Today on the show, I interview a dear friend who has been a businesswoman for many years. She brings so many years of experience and wisdom to the show today. Brenda Rambo is a Nashville psychologist and author. She will share about how she took her journals and turned them into a book. Also, find out what she says is the number one troubling issue she is seeing in this new generation. Can you guess what it is? But before we begin, I want to tell you that today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/rising stories. There are over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. And make sure that you are following me on Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook. I'm at Corrine Sandifer on all three. So here is my conversation with Brenda Rambo. Hi Brenda, how are you doing?
Hey Corrine, I'm doing great today. Thanks.
Good. Well, I wanted to have you on because I heard that you wrote a book, and then today I find out you've written 3 already.
I have written 3 books.
That's awesome. And are they, I'm looking at one of them, The Whispers of the Spirit is your latest book. What are the names of the other 2?
Okay. I wrote a book in 2010, and the name of that book is Understanding the Holy Spirit, Experience the Power.
Okay.
So that was my second book that I wrote.
Mm-hmm. What was your first book?
My first book was Prayer Activation.
Okay.
And it was, so it was on prayer. Mm-hmm. And I wrote that in 2008, and then the Holy Spirit book in 2010.
Okay. And did this come about, you being an author, just because you have had all this knowledge from being a, would you call it like a Christian therapist, counselor?
Well, I had an opportunity for a lot of years to teach on prayer. So I would teach on prayer in churches, small prayer groups in people's homes. And so I taught on prayer for years and years. So because of that, I decided I would write a book that had all of the information that I taught from. So that was the birthing of the first book. I needed a workbook to teach out of because I taught on prayer so much. Wow. So that was the first book, and it was self-published. And it was just about general aspects of prayer. It was necessity of prayer, the power of prayer, and all those kinds of things. So that was my first effort.
Mm-hmm. So did it come about too, just that you said you wanted the workbook, but just putting this in the hands of people that couldn't maybe attend some of your seminars and your classes and your workshops, were you able to do that to be able to send these off to people who maybe weren't local?
I was able to do that. A lot of the people, of course, that bought the books were in the classes, and then they would buy the book and give it to friends because it was just easy to understand prayer. So the book, I've sold all of the books, and so across the years it's time for me to republish and to do some updates in the prayer activation book. But lately, there's been as much interest in the prayer activation book as there's been in the Holy Spirit book. So
Really?
it's been interesting to see how much interest all of a sudden there is in prayer.
Mm-hmm. So when you started when you did the first book, you decided you have self-published. You've self-published all of these, right?
Well, the second book was published by Charisma.
Oh, okay.
And so they published the second book for me.
Okay.
And so that was through a publisher.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then the last book, I self-published the third book, Whispers of the Spirit.
And you've been a counselor, Christian therapist for probably longer than you and I want to admit, because we have known each other for a long time, but for years.
Long time. I have been a psychologist for 35 years.
Oh, wow. That is
and I have practiced most of that time in Brentwood.
Yeah. Here in the Nashville area.
Yeah.
So you've seen a lot of things happening in people's lives and changes. And are people different these days, would you say? Because you just stopped.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Because you just stopped practicing, what, about 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
No, about 6 months ago, I sold my business, and now I see only about maybe 5 clients a week. Mm-hmm. So I've not given it up totally because I love it, and I don't want to be totally separated from it. But over the 35 years, it's a whole different culture, the entire American culture, the status of the family, the political ramifications of where we are, just everything has affected the culture and where people live today. So there have been a lot of transition over the last 35 years.
Yeah, how is that different than 35 years ago? What were people struggling with that they would come to you for?
Well, 35 years ago, most people came in with depression.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And situational issues that were difficult for them. Like they were going through a divorce, or they were going through grieving because of a death, or those kinds of, it could be anything. Children having difficulty with children, marriage issues, or whatever. Mm-hmm. Today, the difference is most people that come through my doors are coming because of anxiety.
Really?
And so anxiety is my number one diagnosis now.
Mm. And you think it's because of just maybe all of the pressures that are hitting us all at once on a daily basis?
Yes, I think it's that's absolutely true. I think the family is under tremendous stress and pressure. It's still the number one diagnosis with children. I still see children and teenagers, and the number one diagnosis with them is anxiety. And they cannot hold up under the dysfunctional families they live in, the school pressure, athletic pressure, and all the other pressure that are put upon them. And so anxiety is a chronic diagnosis that many, many people suffer with.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. And so how does your, how can someone take some of the things, do you speak of those things in the books that you write about? Because when I think about the Holy Spirit, I think about a calming, peaceful, and of course prayer, I think, alleviates some of that anxiety, or it does for me, because I feel like I prayed about it. I'm giving that to God, and He's taking care of it.
Well, in Whispers of the Spirit, it was birthed out of my quiet times with the Lord over 40 years. So as I would pray and lift up my prayers to God, I would then hear the voice of the Spirit, the very soft, quiet voice of the Spirit speaking to me. So I have been journaling words of wisdom that I have received from the Lord for a very long time. And so this book addresses a lot of just everyday practical issues that people deal with. So Whispers of the Spirit is a practical, they're practical devotionals that help a person go deeper in their relationship with the Lord. So it's about learning to rest. It's about learning to hear the voice of God. It's about going deeper in faith, going deeper in prayer, and just a lot of the things. Like one of my favorite writings in the book is Stay Off Memory Lane. And that is such a powerful writing because so many people live in the past to the point that they don't live in the future. I mean, they don't live in the present, and they really can't plan for the future because they're stuck in the past. So most of these writings are powerful words of wisdom and knowledge to help people be able to view life in a different way and see the power of the Spirit of God in the middle of their lives, speaking, guiding, directing, and helping them find a new path. So Whispers is very special to me because it came out of journals that I have. I had 30 or 40 journals that I pulled these writings from. So,
wow.
Whispers really offers Christians a very practical way to take the hand of the Lord and listen and move in a new place with peace and purpose and just a more in-depth way to view the scriptures and to be able to see how relevant they are to daily life.
And I think that, like you were saying earlier, just living in the present, it's really hard. And I think that for me, I see it as I get anxious when I'm not living in the present, when I'm worried about the past or fretting about the past, concerned about the future, not living in my present, not knowing that it's all going to be okay and God's taking care of it. I start getting anxious, and that's where my anxiety will come in to play. And so this year, oddly enough, my word, I choose a word every year, and this year's word is present, to live in the present. And so that's been trying to practice that a lot because it's so easy to think about the past and like, oh, I should have done this, or why didn't this happen, or my marriage was this way and my kids were this way, I should have done that, kind of thinking about regrets, and you just can't do anything about it.
Right. So when you live in the past, you live in regrets, shame, guilt. Not anything good comes from living in the past. So those are the types of writings that are in the book. Things that are very practical that people can use every day to help them get up, move forward, find new energy, vitality, new expectations, new possibilities for each new day. And so in that, there are writings on prayer, there are writings on the Holy Spirit, there are writings on going deeper with God. So there are 120 writings that are very practical.
Wow.
So I've been very pleased with the reviews that I've had with the book.
Oh, good.
They've been amazing in that people are saying this is such practical information from a spiritual perspective. And so that's great.
Yeah. So Brenda, we I have to tell people how we met really quickly. We met at church, which but it was like years ago, because let's see, it must have been maybe 25 years ago.
Yeah, it was 25 years ago.
I think it was 25 years ago because I have a grown daughter, and she's
and you didn't have her then.
I did not have her then. So, and I'm telling my age here today, but it's like we met at, we went on a trip. We were on
missions trip to Romania.
We were on a missions trip to Romania, and we connected. And I connected first with your beautiful daughter, who we just hit it off, she and I, and enjoyed hanging with her and some of the teens at the time. And then we just connected, and I loved traveling with you. It was such a great time. We just were all over Europe that summer.
We were.
And very quickly, but we got to see.
Yes, we were. From Germany to Austria to Hungary to Romania. It was a very amazing time together.
And I'll never forget that time, just because it was a great, seeing the countryside and of Austria, and seeing all of the people and just connecting with each other, but also, seeing the hearts of the people there. I just loved all the people that we came in contact with. So that was a real powerful, memorable trip for me, and enjoyed getting to know you during that time. So that's how we met, and it's been a long time, and we've not really connected since then, because since then we've gone on different churches or whatever, and I've hung out with your daughter some, but we every now and then your name keeps coming up. I was like, I've got to have Brenda on the show, because I know she's written these books, and it's like, or I just thought it was one book, so I'm glad that you've written more than one. That's really cool. You've been busy, but now you're in a different season, because you said you just retired 6 months ago.
I did.
And with this thriving business that you had, and now you're, I say you're semi-retired. You're not probably totally retired. Like I tell my husband, we're not totally retiring ever. Just because,
right?
Number one, we can't afford.
Where I am.
We can't afford to totally retire yet. But and number two,
well, when you get to be the age, you don't want to totally retire.
Right.
So
you want to just keep going. If you're in good health, might as well, right? So
I know,
keeps you healthy. So tell me, what's a day in the life of Brenda now that Dr. Brenda Rambo? Now that you're hanging out, semi-retired, what do you do?
Oh, well, I now have the freedom to have a really routine schedule, which is wonderful, without the pressure of work and trying to get to the office. So I typically spend the first couple of hours with the Lord from about 5 till 7 in the morning. So I spend about 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And then I go for my morning walk, which is almost an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. And I walk with lovely ladies from the neighborhood. So I have upped my walking to about 4 to 5 miles a day.
That's great.
So that's giving me a lot of energy, helping me to feel so much better and stronger. And then later in the mornings, probably around 11, I will, maybe a day or two a week, I will go to the office and see maybe 3 to 5 clients a week. I lead women's prayer groups. I teach at my church. I have a women's group where I teach there. Mm-hmm. And then I have a group of women in the neighborhood that there are probably 20 or 25 women from our neighborhood. So I'm very actively involved in ministry and teaching and friendship. And hospitality with these 20 to 25 women. So that takes some of my time. I have plenty of time now to be with my grandchildren and to be with my daughter. And we just got back from a wonderful trip to France. So I have time to do things that I've never had time to do before.
Yeah. I love that you were able to travel this summer. It was just last month or this month, right?
It was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, we were in France for almost London and Paris, and then the northern part of France for about 2 weeks.
Did y'all drive around? Did you rent a car and drive around the countryside, or take trains? Or
we did a river cruise.
Oh, nice!
So we did a Viking river cruise from Paris to Normandy, and ended up at Omaha Beach, where my dad fought in World War II.
Wow! Oh my goodness! So he was in World War II. Wow.
He was in World War II.
Wow. I forgot
And
that
so that's
Normandy. Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, so that was very special for Andrea and I to be able to go together and stand on Omaha Beach, where we lost thousands upon thousands of young Americans. And so that may be my fourth book I write. I have all my father's testimonies and stories about World War II, and probably 10 or 15 of his comrades. I have all of their stories. So that may be my fourth that I write.
Yes.
So,
well, I'll have you back on. I would love to. I love historical fiction or historical novels that talk about real people during the real time, during, big significant historical events. That's one of my favorites. Yeah.
No, I've never written a historical fiction before, but I'm looking forward to trying to figure out what that might look like.
Yeah. Well, now you've got some time.
Yes.
So that's good. Yeah. So are you on your iPhone much? Are you on your...
yeah.
Yeah. Tell me, do you have a favorite app?
No, I don't.
Do you use any of the apps? None of them? Like, do you have a Facebook app or?
Yeah, I have Facebook and I have Instagram and I probably go to Facebook because it's required. If you're going to write, you're supposed to be on Facebook, so you have to have some kind of social presence.
Yes.
But so I guess I'm there more than I'm anywhere else.
So, what are your 3 favorite things that you're loving these days?
Well, one thing I love that is very new for me, because before I never had the consistency nor the time to really give it a lot of attention, is exercise, and I'm very serious about that. So a new thing for me is my new Fitbit, and it has motivated me to walk from, I guess maybe 3 or 4 months ago, I was at maybe a half a mile a day, maybe a mile a day. And now I've gone from that to about 4 to 5 miles a day. And that is a significant increase in exercise. So I've lost weight, I feel stronger, I feel better, really, than I did 20 years ago. So that's pretty significant. So the Fitbit has really made a big difference in my physical fitness.
Yeah,
so
it's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing what we accomplish when we're tracking things and know what's happening. Yeah, tracking stuff, tracking diets or food intake, and it makes you accountable a little bit more to. Yeah, my Fitbit is still in the box. I'm ashamed to say, but I'm going to pull it out. I got it for Christmas, and
my goodness,
it's been a while. Christmas is almost here again. So I probably need to take it out and, dust it off and actually put it to use. I do exercise. I just haven't.
Great.
Yeah, that would be good. It's not doing me any good in the box, in a bag.
No, it's not.
Is there anything else you're loving?
Well, I'm really into fitness right now and health. And so I've really worked on healthy living, healthy eating most of my life, but I'm really making a shift now to an almost total vegan lifestyle with everything organic, and so I'm trying to make that shift. I love to cook, and so that's something I'm reading about, studying about, trying to make that shift. So that fits in with the exercise and being healthy.
Yes. Yeah. My family, 2 of my family members just went vegan, total vegan. My husband and my daughter. And so it's a big change. And I love to cook. And so I haven't had the time, because it's a learning curve to try to figure out how to cook and what to cook that's vegan. What we've been doing lately is just I'll cook a big meal with, like I normally do, because I normally have just, either fish, chicken, beef, and then
Right.
a couple sides and a salad or, fruit or whatever. So, and they come in and, but I wasn't normally having a lot of bread. So now I've got to have some bread for them and just kind of making it to where there's more options for them. So now rather than just like instead of doing 2 vegetables, I might do 3 vegetables and a salad so that they're getting, and one of them being a real hearty vegetable like a baked potato or beans and rice or something so they can get a little bit of protein. Right. But yeah, have you tried that cheese called, I just saw it yesterday in the grocery store, called Daiya? It's like D-A-I.
No,
yeah, I'm wondering how, a friend of mine mentioned it, and I'm wondering how tasty it is. But I haven't ventured into that.
I can't answer that.
Yeah.
But that's a fun experience. Like, I love to cook, so I love to cook healthy soups. So it's really easy to cook a lot of hearty vegetable stews and with lentils and barley and rice and all the wonderful vegetables and all of that. And I love hearty salads. You can put so many things in salads that really make them fortified. So anyway, that's a passion for me. So I have time now to engage in that.
I love that. Yeah. So what is your favorite, I always ask people who are from the Nashville area, what is your favorite restaurant in the Nashville area?
Well, we live in Thompson Station, so we're not, we never go to Nashville, or very seldom do we ever go to Nashville. But we have this wonderful restaurant, probably 4 miles from where we live, and it's called Homestead Manor. So they grow all of their food.
Oh, wow.
All of their meat, all of their vegetables, everything is grown on the property on a farm.
Oh, my goodness.
And so it's, it's from the field to the table. So we love going there. It's an upscale restaurant, which is, you wouldn't think there would be such a thing out in the country, but it's just a wonderful place to go. And they have a big, beautiful barn where they have weddings and venues and all kinds of things out there. So it's just a new favorite place for us. So we love going there for dinner they used to have it open for lunch, but they don't have it open for lunch now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I need to try that. I have heard that before. It's like a farm to table restaurant, and I've heard the name Homestead Manor, so I'm gonna have to check that out. Brentwood's not far from Thompson Station, so I'll have to.
No, it's not, and you
can
come have dinner with Andrea and I.
Yes, would love that. Would love that. Well, Brenda, thanks so much for coming on and sharing about your book, Whispers of the Spirit, and I'll talk about it more and let listeners know how they can get the information and how to go to your website, which is drbrendaramboauthor.com. And thanks again for coming on.
Well, thank you for asking me. If they are coming from the show, they would need to just send me an email at drbrendarambo@comcast.net, and then that way I would know that they get their free book.
Wasn't she great? I loved hearing her voice. It was so soothing. And so thankful to have someone speaking and teaching on prayer and daily life. And I loved when she shared about giving practical ways to listen and move to a new place with peace and purpose. You can find Brenda's books on the links in the show notes at CorrineSandifer.com. Please consider supporting Rising Stories podcast by purchasing books and products mentioned on the show with the link in the show notes. Thanks so much for listening, and keep rising in your own story.